Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. With September less than a month away at the time of this posting, and for me, I believe it's almost exactly a month until I'm out hunting elk in the elk woods with my bow, I thought it'd be fun to go through my elk setup for this year when it comes to archery. So let's get right into it. For the bow, I'm shooting a PSC Evo NXT. It's a 33 axle to axle bow, and I'm shooting with a 31-inch draw length. It got really long arms, so it was nice to find a bow to accommodate my particular body type and setup and full setup that I like to shoot, which I'll get into the arrows and speeds and all that I'm able to get out of this. Now, going to the sight, this is a Montana Black Gold, or Black Gold for short, dual track. So it's got two sights, or two pins, you can see. Now, the reason I went to 2 pins is because when I first got into archery, I was shooting 5 pins, and kind of having all of that obstruction when I'm trying to lock into a target gave me the forbidden TP word, target panic. Not supposed to say that out loud, but it gave me that because there was so much going on in my sight picture that I couldn't focus on what the target was and when to let that shot break for clean impacts. So I originally went to a single pin from Black Gold, which is great for shooting, targets at the range or shooting 3D courses, but it's not that great for hunting because so much can happen when you're hunting elk, especially. So much movement can occur. An elk can take a few steps forward or kind of sprint back 10, 20 yards in like a single bound, that you want to be as accurate and leave as little room to error as possible. So personally, I found that sweet spot with 2-pin sight setup. And you'll notice I mentioned earlier, I have a really long draw length and I'm shooting 70 pounds. So with that, I'm really able to maximize weight of my arrow with speed, which leads me to another benefit of a 2-pin for me in particular. Now, my top pin is set at 40 yards and my bottom pin is set like at 53 yards. That means that I can shoot anywhere from 0 to 53 yards without adjusting anything. So let's say I stumble on some elk in the woods and I don't have time to do anything but get a quick range. I don't have time to adjust my sight, any of that. I just got to pull back quickly and prepare to let an arrow loose on an elk. I can do that. I don't have to be concerned about like, oh shoot, I got to move between, I got to move from 30, 40 down to 51 because, the elk stepped down and I wasn't ready. Having this set up at 40 and 53 for me allows me to shoot from 0 to 53. All I got to do is hold slightly low or high depending on where the animal steps out. So for example, if the animal steps out at 20 yards or 15 yards, I just hold my 40 pin slightly low and I'm still going to get a really accurate shot. I think when I measured this at the range, I was about 2 inches high at 20 yards with my pin set at 40, if that makes sense. So that's my pin setup on my sight. I love it. It's been great for me, and it helps me maintain accuracy while also minimizing my my margin of error out in the field. Now, jumping to my quiver, it's a tight spot 5 arrow quiver, but more importantly is what's inside. Oops, didn't have that secure. I have Victory Rip TKO arrows is what I'm shooting. I chose these arrows because they get a great grains per square inch of arrow in terms of weight, which really lets me maximize overall arrow weight while also loading up heavy business ends of the arrow. So just to give you an idea, the total arrow weight on this is 465. I could probably go heavier and still get great speeds. I'm shooting 291 feet per second with this bow set up with these arrows. I could probably bump these arrows up to almost 500 grains and still shoot, low 280s feet per second, which is plenty fast for just about anything. I wouldn't be worried about it. And I might actually do that later this year or next year for my other bow hunts. But for now, 465 for elk. Give me that balance, not too light, not too heavy, kind of that Goldilocks arrow weight. On the back end, I have AAE Max vanes. They're bigger vanes and they're helicaled. I did this to help steer fixed blade broadheads. When you have a big hunk of metal like this on the front end, it's going to cause some variation of your impacts, so it's going to help steer my arrow more accurately to mimic my field points or my practice arrows. So the 125 broadheads up front, there are micro Hades. I also have a 50 grain outsert insert type deal going on for a total of 175 of my 465 grains, all up front on the business end where it should be. Now, I do have 3 fixed blades in my quiver to start, but I also have 2 mechanicals in the back. Now, the reason I carry these is for follow-up shots. So let's say the situation arises where I shoot an elk at 40 yards, 35 yards with my fixed blade, clean shot, perfect impact, but that animal is still moving, which very possible. They're very powerful animals that just don't want to die. He runs off to 80 yards or maybe even 90. I'm definitely not shooting that far with my fixed blade. With my fixed blade, there's just too much margins for error in terms of my form is off, which in that kind of situation, my heart's going to be going crazy and beating out of my chest. My form probably won't be perfect. So I want to minimize any points of error. So I would take out my mechanicals. These are Sever 1.5, 125 grain heads, so matching the same weight. And these fly identical to my field points. And I would be willing to send these as long bombs. The other reason I don't use these as my primary is just a lot can go wrong with mechanical in terms of, you're relying on something else to go right for you when you shoot it. So it does have these rear deploying blades that open up when it makes impact. But if you hit a tree or a twig or a leaf on its way to the elk, it's not going to just punch right through. It might deflect or pre-deploy. Anything can go wrong with a mechanical, and again, anything to minimize that margin of error is a good thing when you're hunting elk. So that's why I do the fixed blade. Just if I hit the shoulder, punching right through it. I've actually tested this not on purpose, but by accident when I missed my target at the range, and it hit the backstop 2x4, and it went through the 2x4 and went about this deep at 100 yards on the 2x4. So it's good to see that my arrows can punch through that kind of thing. Now, all that said, at the time of filming, this is, late June that I'm filming this, I have gone back and forth about when would I use a mechanical as my primary arrow versus a fixed blade. If I was hunting deer or antelope or bear, I'll use the mechanical, no problem. They're not, not that they're not tough animals, but they're just a lot less dense than an elk is. So I definitely use a mechanical on them. But if a situation arose in the elk woods, and this is I'm probably gonna deal with this mental battle all the way up until the point of truth when I'm in front of an elk and I'm looking to make that shot, is there are situations where I might use the fixed blade. If the elk has, the mechanical. If the elk has no idea I'm there and I can just take my time and be surgical accurate, I might use the mechanical because it's gonna be way more accurate than my fixed blade. I've tested my fixed blade on the range. I'm usually pretty close, if not almost touching the same arrow as my practice arrows, which is to say it's pretty accurate, but that's under no stress, under no pressure. I'm on flat ground. Everything's in my favor at the range. When you're hunting, there's a lot more variables. I'm tired, my shoulders are sore, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty. Just so much going on that if I wanted to just make myself as accurate as possible, I might whip out the mechanical. All this to say, and you guys are watching me in real time in the mental battle that I have when I'm deciding between the two. And I between hour to hour, I'm going back and forth of nope, this year I'm using the fixed blades as my primary, no ifs, ands, or buts. And then the next hour, I'm back to the mechanicals. So I guess the moment of truth will come in the hunting video that I post, and I hopefully have a bull on the ground. I show you guys the arrow that I used on that bull or that elk and show you what it is. So anyone's guess. With all that, that is my 2024 elk setup. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a comment, guess which one I'm gonna end up using, guess which one, or tell me which one you think I should be using, or tell me your setups for this year, whether it's archery or rifle season or muzzleloader. Let me know what you guys are shooting, what you're hunting this year. I'd love to hear it. And until next time, good luck in the elk woods.